There you go.
Thanks for joining us as we take a closer look at a movie released 10 days ago, Transformers 1, otherwise known as...
Witness the much funnier reboot to the original story.
My name is John Newton, science fiction author, and I'm joined by...
Eric from Your Brother in Christ.
So why review Transformers 1? An animated, mostly for kids, science fiction story. Well, because it's science fiction, and it was better than expected, and it has great parallels in the Bible. Say what? Yeah, we're gonna touch on that in a bit. So before we get started, I'm going to put a little plug in here and suggest that you check out Child of the Stone, the 4th installment of the short stories that are now on Amazon, Apple, Kubo, and all the other distributors that you can find. Now, this is only available on pre-order, but if you contact me in the description of this, I will see about getting you a copy. And yes, Gabriel, it is still coming. He was one that had asked, and I had problems in getting it out to him, but we'll see what we can do. Oh, and hang around to the end, and we'll talk about the question that's been asked on the thumbnail. Was Megatron right all along? That's a spoiler question, so we're going to leave it to later. And if you don't want to spoil the movie, you might want to wait until you see it, and then we'll tackle that question. In Transformers 1, travel back to the origins of Cybertron, where two robots, Orion Pax and D16, stand on the edge of destiny. Their friendship is forged in unity, and it soon spirals into rivalry as the fate of their world hangs in a balance. Witness the rise of legends as the heartbreaking betrayal that sets the stage for the ongoing conflict between the Autobots and the Decepticons. As a character-driven story filled with humor and intrigue, this is the untold beginning of a saga that changed everything. Dun, dun, dun. We're going to do spoiler-free review first, and then we're going to hit into spoilers, because if we're going to be talking much about this, we're going to be hitting into some things that will kind of ruin the story for you. But at the beginning, what would you give this movie?
I'd say
between 1 and 10.
8 out of 10. It's a really good one. I know a lot of people haven't gone and seen it, but it was surprisingly good. I know that there's been like 7 live-action Transformers in degrading value, with I think like 1 outstander as it was going downhill. Eventually, Beast Wars, which
that tends to happen sometimes with franchises. The first one knocks it out of the park, and then they tend to go downhill. But I think it was really, there's a lot of disappointment with some of the.
Well, they switched out main characters, they changed up main characters, and they ended up being more human focused than actual robot focused in quite a few of them, including like the Age of Extinction that had the dinosaur robots in there that didn't show up until towards the very end. It was like nidbit. It's like, okay, you got like 5 minutes of actual robot dinosaurs fighting, but we're going to put that on all the advertisements. Like, I think we got a little gypped here.
So you would give it an 8.
I give it a
reasons for that primarily would be what?
It's a good mix of humor. It's a good mix of storytelling. I'm not feeling like I'm preached out the entire time, which I know that seems to be a very low bar. Like, seriously, that is one of your criteria, but nowadays, yes, it is.
That's hard to find, yeah.
So it's good comedy. It got me laughing. I was even laughing after leaving the movie theater, which not a lot of movies do that. So there's a good bit of comedy in it. It's a good, enjoyable film. Definitely for older kids. But I think this was enjoyable all in all.
I think there is enough nostalgia in here. There's enough fan service. It's too. And one thing that I found is that we're going to be hitting this a little bit more later too, is I don't think they didn't disrespect the fans, which you see what happens in a lot of franchises now. It seems like some large company gets a hold of it and they say, okay, we're going to take this and we're going to twist it around, change genders, whatever, and we're going to give you our philosophy, and we're going to press down the story and destroy everything. And forget about canon. Forget about anything that has gone before. I didn't see that with this, although there's some retconning maybe that was going into that. We'll get into that a little bit later there too. But I would agree. I would also give it an 8. I'm giving a lot of 8s recently. I think what it is is anything that was really a bad movie, I tend to stay away. So I'm not giving that a whole lot to these. So I'm going to check the chat real quick and see what's going on. Let's see. I'm going to put this first one on from Nicodemus. Says, watching him so I don't have to popcorn yellow striped smile.
That's a emoji that's not there.
Oh, yeah.
Import into there.
You can't.
So
I was going to say, what is that? I'm not sure.
It's
so it has the colons there.
It's the actual emoji, and then it converts it into the text string.
Okay. So you can't use emojis very much, or maybe limited emojis in the.
Well, they can use it. We just don't see it.
Oh.
So they see it on YouTube, but we don't see it because it gets lost in translation.
I see. It's Vanna White is easier on the eyes, Yobro. Thomas Hall said, well, looks like the classic Transformers. This is this live action? No, it's not. This is a bit of going back to their roots. It is animation. There is it's available, at least in the theater that I went to, was available in 3D. So it's probably, computer graphic generated, but it is an animated story. And I'm gonna throw a quick. I'm going to go through some of the chats here again too, but I'm going to throw up a quick clip that I have from it. This is the very beginning of. The problem is with this, and we're going to get into this a little bit more too. The trailers that they had for this originally
were poorly done.
Were awful. They didn't really give a good demonstration. You look at this and you say, I don't want to bother with that.
No, it looks like it's some more of the same exact stuff that was pushed beforehand, where people are tired of the stupid promises and not getting any good writing out of it. Where no, that's kind of the opposite. You got really ridiculously good writing with this.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to take this off, go back here. And so this is a clip from one of the most recent.
Where's Optimus Prime?
The filthy red and blue bot? Yeah. Gives off a corroded metallic stench.
Okay, corroded, that is too far.
Okay.
So you see these two bots here at the end. It starts off with they're basically in Cybertron. You've got this. This is the setting for the whole situation. I don't think this is going to spoil it at all. But you've got the bots are set up as just basically miners. They're mining Energon for whatever reason. Doesn't really explain at the beginning why they're mining Energon. Everybody's doing it. They're all excited about the quota. And there's this one Prime that's left, and his name is Sentinel Prime. And everybody loves him. He's like, he almost reminded me of Megatron when you have, who's the guy? Metropolis Man or the main hero in Megamind?
You talking about Megamind? Yeah, that's not.
No. The other guy that he was his nemesis. Okay. So anyway, it reminded him that everybody loves him. They're cheering him on and stuff like that. And he comes in. So these two bots, Orion Prime and D12, are working in the mines. They're buddies, they're bros, they're going on and they're doing their thing and everything. Well, it's no surprise. This is the origin story of Optimus Prime and Megatron and their buddies. That's how it starts. It's a buddy cop beginning of the show. So checking out the chat again. Would you agree that it's more like a buddy cop at the beginning?
I don't know so much as a buddy cop, just a buddy story.
A buddy story. So I shouldn't say buddy cop. Yeah.
They are just down there. They're together working. They're getting in trouble. There is some with Optimus. He's kind of a goofier sort of character than what he normally is. You're used to him being more serious. I think that would be the only real critique. But then again, if this is at the beginning of his development into becoming the leader in order to overcome it, to become the Optimus Prime that we know,
right? This
is kind of expected. Now, I did like the whole origin story of having them as friends, working together. Now, there is a caste system between the two, basically two levels. Either you can transform or you can't transform. So there's a caste system going on here, and they are in the low caste who are stuck in the mines, mining away.
Yeah, they're just a couple of nobodies. They're drones.
Yep, basically, nobodies. No one cares.
So I've got a new guy here. He says, he says, hello, new to the channel, Transformers 1 was good. So we got a 1 votes up with that.
Yeah, very surprising.
There's a point here that Nicodemus is making transhuman agenda. So this is, I guess this opens up a whole new can of worms to say that I would say that was more with the lead of Battle Angel being a thing of transhumanism, because these are robots that are sentient, not humans becoming.
Yeah, it's very clear that these are separate from it, and the whole thing is off of old Japanese toys that a couple of Americans went over to Japan and looked and saw these toys that could transform into these super fighting robots, and it's like, cool, I want to bring that over here, and I think they brought it over here, and that's how it transformed.
It was Hasbro, and Hasbro did the movie too. So it was just a big advertisement for them, and it really took off.
Originally, that was the cartoon, and Megatron in the original cartoon transformed into a gun that someone else had to shoot. I admit that was a poor design decision.
Well, it's like a lot of these movies and stuff, even like the older Star Trek. There's a lot of stuff that was underdeveloped, and they just like hand wove to that. I was looking at something today about star dates. What they actually translate to as being actual star dates. Before it was just like, we're just going to put a date in there to kind of obscure what the actual date is, so people don't say that will not happen in 200 years. There is no way warp drive could be made. So it obscures it and say, it's just sometime in the future. But then they really started putting dates on it when they started filling the blank. And I think maybe it was the same with the Transformers, a gun. So
it transformed have a big gun into later? A gun. It probably was a sales point for it. You're selling this toy gun that transforms into a robot, which is kind of a cool concept from that standpoint. But as your main villain, so much.
I know. It's like that main villain, then he needs somebody else to use him, right?
So they transform him. Most of the time, they just give him a tank.
Yeah.
Turn him into a tank instead.
Okay, Thomas Hall said, despite being an 80s kid, I couldn't get into the movies. Maybe I'll try to be less of a curmudgeon and check it out. I love the word curmudgeon. I mean,
it counts on which ones he's looking at. He's looking at the live action ones. The first couple were pretty decent.
Yeah.
But after you get through, I think like 4, it starts going downhill because they change out it's more human focused, like I was saying earlier, and less transformer focused.
I'd be kind of curious, Thomas, why you would say that you just couldn't get into it. I'm just curious.
Could be a cultural thing.
Why?
I don't know. Could be cultural.
I don't know. Maybe. So we got also, let's see. There we go. Is Megatron in Transformers 1 a tragic villain like other popular villains, Gollum in Lord of the Rings, Thanos in MCU, Darth Vader in Star Wars? Well, I think we can answer that question when we get to the spoiler part of the video, because I don't want to answer that straight off. I think it reveals a little bit too much into it. So we'll try to cover. And what? Oh, star that. Was that to come back later?
Yeah, you can select up here. He's still learning how this stuff is working. You can star comments that you can then go back to later.
What does this do?
It's a mouse.
So Carol said, I just stopped in to click on the like button and head out. Don't even know who or what Megatron is. Don't identify. Thank you, Carol.
Wow.
Thank you, Carol. I appreciate it.
Liking.
But the Autobots have another opinion. So yeah, whatever. So this type of stuff's only going to really relate to a certain group of people, right? And we're nerds. We're Christian nerds. So somewhere in that small segment of the universe, there are people that can identify with us. Although Carol was the #1 winner of our Mandela
effect. Holy cow. She owned it.
She won that hands down. I think she needs to be running as a judge the next time around when we do something like that. Thomas Hall said, already looks much better than Live Action.
Live Action.
I think it was a Freudian slip. The first film made me seasick. I don't know. Maybe it was the Uncanny Valley with that you look at his.
It might be Uncanny Valley. I like the fact that whenever they did the original live action one, that the transforming actually required everything to go somewhere, and it wasn't just magical disappearing and reappearing thing, which of course they broke later on as the movies progressed. But
I don't know if I should put some of this chat in here. I know it's going back and forth with them, but Thomas, I'm gonna show you up, man, dude. You need to show the love here. I don't know. You know, is this Christ-centric that you got going on here? Because yeah, no, you're just messing around with her, so it's cool.
Well, considering he's like, I never got into the movies anyway.
Yeah, I know.
He's a bit what?
Okay, so Nicodemus is kind of answering what he was saying earlier, but it was this life force that made them sentient. I don't know. They had this spark going on with them that was an explanation, and you know, you could go into the whole thing of asking, like, you know, with fairy tales and stuff like that. You know, what is it wrong? Are there aspects of it that are inherently bad or evil? But I would look at it and say, is there ways that we could sometimes with these fairy tales and these other myths that are out there, they're talking about a deeper truth that we can pull out and say, okay, that's just like this, and then point towards the Bible. And that's exactly what we're doing with this channel, is say, how can we look at these things and say, you know what, here's a direction you can think about going this direction and so forth. So that might not be a bad thing to do. And we got a lot of great chat going on here. Have you seen the new reboot Bumblebee?
Now that's the one I'd say did it slightly better than the other live actions recently. So, but I don't think they're going anywhere with it, because it still did not do as great.
I think that was you.
That was me. I know. I didn't silence my phone. I didn't silence my phone.
You got to do that when you come into a theater.
I know.
Okay.
I didn't know your studio was a theater.
It is now.
I didn't know enough people were watching.
Carol B's still here. What's Decepticons not asking? Okay.
Not asking? That's it. Why'd you use a question mark then?
She has to see. I think she's only asking, not that she's really interested. It's just so that if we have another Mandela effect questionnaire and contest,
I know exactly
she wants to be able to come out on top because she can answer the right question.
Okay. I know exactly what we're going to do. The next Mandela effect quiz we do is all going to be about Transformers. That is the only topic that's going to be there.
We'll do that and other related things. Okay, so this is the spoiler-free section. Now we have there were some viewer expectations that were with this a little bit too. I've got a couple of them here because you're coming with this and saying, okay, what's really going on? If you're familiar with Transformers and stuff like that, you might ask. Live action versus CGI. Now we spoke about this earlier. This is a CG. This is animation. It is not a live action with CGI like they had done the Michael Bay type of thing. So I'm gonna put up another. Yeah, you had a point that you want to bring?
Go ahead.
Okay,
we gotta get the spoiler section first.
Okay, I know. I'm gonna. There's another clip here, and then we'll talk.
You have the power to make your world better.
So some of the voices that were in here that have changed. If you remember the voice of Optimus Prime and Megatron being basically iconic, that these guys have been around forever. The voices behind the top rivals in the Transformer franchise have remained the same from the old Saturday morning cartoons days until now. Optimus Prime was voiced by Peter Cullen with his deep voice.
My name is Optimus Prime. We are autonomous robotic organisms from the planet Cybertron.
So who is now going to be doing this? And then we have the evil Megatron was voiced by Frank Welker, who, by the way, is a licensed pilot who flies a Beechcraft Bonanza. Now, could you imagine?
I am Megatron, leader of the Decepticons.
This guy calling in, you're an air traffic controller. He calls in for clearance.
That would be hilarious.
You know, I would just
be a
I'm
viral
invading
video.
now.
That would be a viral video.
Resistance
right
is
there.
futile. Yeah, that would be pretty fun. So these were the older guys, and I have a couple of pictures here. Let me put these up. So Optimus was this guy, Megatron this guy, and as you can see, they're starting to get a little bit older.
Yes.
And if you're going to do kind of a reboot thing, you might consider that either you get their voices AI generated or put into an AI system, sign off with these guys. If I were them, I'd say, you know what? I put my dues in. Yeah, give me a nice chunk of change and you could use my voice, have it computer generated or something.
Or even just like sign on some sort of amount that you would get, your estate would be paid. and you could put it into your kids.
Oh yeah,
future.
every time it's used.
Every time it's used in this AI generated format, or for any sort of movie or franchise or whatever, you have to pay X amount. It might be just like a percentage or something like that. So it changes with time, with inflation. And I mean, that could be nice for his kids, or
it could work out for
generations down. Yeah.
So the new voices we have, the new voice actors. Now there are 2 of them that are from the MCU. Okay. You know, I think you probably know one. This guy, Chris Hemsworth, he does the voice for Orion Pax, who becomes Optimus. And then this guy, I don't know if I've ever seen it before. Tyree Henry does the voice for D16, who becomes Megatron. And so the question is, did they pull it off?
I think they did pretty decent.
You did. And you would kind of expect that if you have these characters in the movie that are younger and they're going to have this character transformation. Not only is there a character transformation, there's a physical transformation with them as well. And so they're shorter, smaller in the beginning. And I could see, Optimus having his voice in the beginning and then maybe his voice later, but they didn't do that. They didn't pull in the original voice actor. They didn't pull in Peter Cullen for Optimus.
No.
At the end. I'm wondering, because this is set up for a prequel or a sequel, if they will actually pull them. I'm thinking kind of not. I think they will lose it. If they do, in my opinion, I think they should switch it over. So checking the comments again. Let's see. So yes, Carol is indeed gathering information that might come in handy at some point. Don't know what that point might be. Yeah, and so okay, so this is a point that Nicodemus is bringing. The influence of these productions have had through the decades, generation is unmeasurable. Yeah, I would agree that there is a huge, especially when you have kids. Somebody even back in the 80s, somebody did a study and say how many hours of TV do kids watch versus being in school. And it was, I believe, about 3 times as much on average than you do. Think about how much time you spend in school. Now, that paradigm has changed because kids just don't sit in front of the TV anymore. We've got, these devices, whatever they are, before our children, and videos everywhere. How do you really monitor that and watch that? It's a much tougher questions than maybe our parents had with us as kids. Then we also have Brandon said he is educating Carol. Dude, this is top secret. You're giving advice to the enemy. Let's not do that. And yeah, it almost sounds like, I'm gonna play this again. It almost sounds like he does have, now which one has the raspy voice here?
Optimus.
Optimus has the raspy voice?
My name is Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
I am Megatron, leader of the Decepticons.
I don't know. They're both kind of on the edge there.
Oh, I think he's got a much more wussy voice.
You think that he does?
Yeah. Much more artificial.
So, let's see. I'm just making sure that we hit everybody here for this sort of thing. Oh, Carol, no. She's going to the dark side. Okay, so this is, the voices were good. That was one thing that I think that both of us believe that they were able to pull off. But then how does it compare? How does Transformers 1 measure up against the past Transformers TV, either movies or TV series? What would you say?
I think it did pretty good. It held its own. I mean, it wasn't like groundbreaking, but it was definitely more back to the funny, jokey sort of level, but yet still having a serious tone with it.
Okay, so we're diving into this a little bit. We're going to look at it from a theatric standpoint, and then we're going to get into the thematic. Now, we're going to be doing the thematic a little bit differently today. We're going to compare this to other things. We're going to get to what was a major theme in this movie and see how does it compare to the same type of theme in the Bible. And I have 6 different occurrences, and we're going to talk about how it measures up. are we talking about the same thing? How are they the same, and how are we different? So the fourth thing we can look at for fan service is, did they respect canon? With so many franchises breaking continuity as if the writers themselves are from alternate histories, we get a little gun shy with new films and wonder, is this a retcon or a reboot? So I ask this question for you. Is this a retcon or a reboot? A retcon is taking the history that's within this franchise, and I'm going to say, you know what happened way back in? I'm going to twist it and change it. You thought it was this, but I'm going to make it different.
That was one of the worst things with the live action that they did. Seems like every movie did that. Just changed it from the previous live action movie. That's
like why they were there.
Why they're there, who created them, what's going on. All that stuff kept getting changed every movie.
Yeah.
This one, tell you truthfully, I'm not 100% sure of what the original origin story of Megatron and Optimus's relationship. There are some hints to definitely in the live action. There's a point where Optimus refers to Megatron as being his brother that's referred to there. So it would hint to a relationship beforehand. I could see this as very easily being an origin story. And again, if you're taking this as a reboot, it seems to be consistent with the universe they put it in, not in spite of it.
Okay. Well, I have three different origins that are here. Just touch on this real briefly. Transformers Prime. They share a complex history. Megatron and Optimus share a complex history, having been close allies before Megatron's descent into tyranny. Their rivalry is fueled by betrayal and deep ideological divide. Now, that was in Transformers Prime. I would say it really matches this movie with what happens here.
Yep.
And Transformers, the 2007 movie. So this was the one that really turned off Thomas. Thomas said, I don't want to deal with this. It makes my head spin. Megatron is primarily portrayed as a ruthless antagonist with little focus on their past as friends. You only have no idea.
No.
Does that kind of fit? Maybe, if you never talk about how you guys were buddies together and stuff like that. There's no appeal to that as relationship.
There is that one, like I said, there is one mention to, you were my brother or something like that.
Oh, I think,
a side mention at one point in the show. But
so the animated series, Transformers Animated, their relationship also is explored, depicting Megatron as a former mentor to Optimus. And so that's a real
bit of change there, but yet
here.
They're still.
So is it a retcon? Kind of, but it's all over the place. You can't really say it's a retcon. And as far as a reboot goes, yeah, it's a little bit of a reboot here, especially if you talk to the voice actors. I think what they're saying is that this tends to go into, this does well in a theater, then you do it. Now, that brings us to another point. Is it doing well in a theater or not? The answer is meh.
Not really.
Why?
I think they've really, I'd say that it's been the expectation of Transformers movies to be bad because we've had such a bad run of Transformers movies leading up to it. Fans have fallen away because it's just been such poor writing, and they've basically retconned and rebooted each movie, rebooted it. If you go through like Transformers Last Night, all those Transformers Beast Wars really make no sense.
There's a little bit of fatigue there too, right? The people
7 different movies. Live action
guys,
movies.
Show us something new. We know there's other material out there. We don't need to keep doing this over and over. And I think that would be one of my complaints about this. Is like there's other material besides this.
One of the things that makes this one actually work a lot better is because it needs to have that reboot. This is one that's okay. You guys beat it over the horse. If you want to do another movie of this, you really need to just like press that reboot button and actually do it. And I know I'm really weird for actually voting for a reboot.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want to do a movie,
I don't think they put enough on there. Hardly anybody knew about it. I don't think they put much marketing out there.
No, and what they sold on was the action. And tell you truthfully, I don't find the action as compelling as the comedy that's in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if they would have sold this more as action comedy, I think it would have played off a lot better with the original fan base. So we have a comment here from Leaf of a Vine Eternal said, is there an audio Bible with Peter Cullen as the narrator?
one of the best voices of all time. Yeah, who was it? Golly, he just passed away. The guy who did Darth Vader. Oh boy, I'm just missing the voice. Mufasa. He did the King James Bible. It's like, man, it's really good. So yeah, I would like to. That's a good question. I don't know if he did that or not, but really deep, resonant voice. Okay, so a couple more comments here. It says, "Dear Hollywood, do a flick that shows reality of Islam for a change. We can believe in it. Do get that'd be a nice
Well, I know
change.
we're doing a review on with Hatun.
Yes,
Tosh, we're going to do a review on a movie
Fatima. Yeah,
so that would be the daughter of Muhammad,
and that will be coming up
in a couple weeks, I think.
Yeah, no, about 3 weeks
18th.
or so. It's the 18th or 19th
Of
October.
So yeah, that one's
Saturday.
coming up. We'll take a look at that, and
Maybe
I
that'll
haven't
be
seen
worth
the
it.
movie yet, so
There we go. James Earl Jones. Definitely.
go.
Yes. And if you've ever seen an interview with him, he mentioned the fact that he used to be a stutterer. And I just imagine Darth Vader choking somebody and just start stuttering with it. Anyway, it seems would make me funny about that. Okay, we are going to now get into a spoiler territory. So if you have not seen this movie and want to enjoy it, you may want to put us on pause and come back to us later. Or if you just want to enjoy the rest of this time with us, just hang out.
Truthfully, a lot of the twists in the movie, the twists, if you're an adult, you can easily see it coming.
Yes,
they're kind of
that is true. You knew. Yeah, you can see what's happening.
Yeah, there's no like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's a kid's movie. Okay, don't expect. Yeah, I guess that really does change a lot of the quality that you're expecting from it, being a kids movie versus being the live action adult one. You're expecting a lot better writing than a kids movie. But yeah, for a kids movie, this was really well done.
Okay, spoiler territory.
But this fight is mine.
So yes, a lot of action. Don't have to worry about that. What would you say about the movie's writing and directing? You think they did a pretty good job with this?
I think they did a pretty good job. I think the twists were pretty easy going. You definitely saw them coming, like, oh yeah, that's Megatron. Oh, that's Optimus. Oh, the Prime isn't really the Prime. He's fake. He's a bit of a jerk. All the Primes really died and he took over. Yeah, those were all expected. You've had the aliens that are there. Oh, he's serving the aliens, basically. No, doesn't take any genius to realize these twists.
Yes.
Although there are some very critical parts that they put in there that I think are really good to pull out.
Okay. Do you want to pull them out now?
I can pull them out now or pull them out.
Oh, is this thematically?
Thematically.
Oh, okay. We'll wait for just a minute on that. I will say that there is one other character in here that is voiced by an MCU actor. I didn't mention her earlier, but mentioned
So he's a little intense.
Yeah, just a little.
Scarlett Johansson. I'm sorry, played that role. So yeah, you get to see a little bit of each of these in there. So I mentioned in the trailer, the description for this, that we were going to touch on Blake Snyder Save the Cat. Now, this is from a writer's point of view. I was going to spend time on this, but I think I'm just going to touch on this real briefly because I don't think that there's going to be a whole lot of desire for this kind of thing. But basically, in the book Save the Cat by Blake Snyder, which is famous among authors, he mentions that there are several different story types. He talks about 10 of them. Monster in the House, Golden Fleece, Out of the Bottle, Dude with a Problem, Rites of Passage, Buddy Love, Why Done It, a Fool Triumphant, Idol, Institutionalized, and Superhero. Of all of these, I'm not going to ask you about this because you guys probably know this, but this would be a Buddy Love superhero movie. These are the two types of tropes that this would fall into. So just mentioning those briefly. Now, you mentioned thematic review. I want to check the comments real quick before we dive into this to see if there's anything else that is mentioned. So yeah, we're still talking about who is narrating the Bible. Maybe we should probably do like a contest to see or not a contest, but to do a poll to see who was the best narrator of Bible audio versions of the Bible. Thematic review. This is the best part of our review when we save it for last. We usually ask, are there Christian themes in this movie that we can use to deliver a message of instruction or hope to a dying world? But we're going to handle this one a little bit differently this time. Instead of looking for these themes, I'm going to say, here's what the strongest one is and go from there. But you didn't know this is happening. So what would you say would be the strongest theme?
So real quick here, just some grievances against this, since we are in spoiler territory. There are some poor decisions done. I think Megatron's, the betrayal of Megatron, where he switches from being good bot to bad bot, I think was poorly handled.
Really?
I think they kind of rushed it.
Okay.
I think that there definitely should have been more emphasis on how he felt betrayed. I think it would have made much more sense. At the same time, they paint the alien invaders as such a bad threat.
Oh yeah, there's alien invaders here too, by the way.
Yeah, but they're really a minor. I mean, it could have just been that the alien invaders never actually existed, or that they were actually wiped out, and the story would have been the same. Because they're not really playing that big.
I would disagree totally. When they see their hero bow his knee, Centurion, bow his knee to the aliens and basically give over Cybertron to them, I think it was a very powerful moment of betrayal that made the difference for Megatron.
True, but I think that, again, they did not emphasize these cool-looking aliens very much.
No, I think it would be detracting from the story. And I think that is what's going to be in the next movie if they do it.
Yeah, but they painted him up as such a bad villain at the beginning. They're painting him up as the villain in the beginning of the story.
Okay.
And then just like
I think we're going to disagree on this one, but go for it.
Other than that, again, the betrayal of Megatron, I think if they would have built it up a bit more, I think it would have came off a bit stronger.
Okay, so what's the theme?
Not too many. The theme actually comes at the end there. The theme of forgiveness and being willing to sacrifice yourself for someone that has betrayed you, but you're willing to forgive.
That's very powerful.
I think that would be at the end. You have the fake Prime there on the ground. You have Megatron, who's going to take his revenge on behalf of the people, which you could really see where he's coming at with this. And Optimus is saying, no, don't do it this way. No, it's wrong. He's
really
seeking
tough.
forgiveness. He's asking for mercy. He's basically a prisoner. He has no power anymore. Everyone knows what he has done. It's been exposed. He's been defeated. Well, Megatron decides to do him in, take the shot, and Optimus gets in the way, and because of that, he is then selected as the next Prime, as the next.
So yes,
he's raised up as the savior of the
major
people.
Spoiler warning. Okay, so
Well,
I know we got it up there. Okay, so another.
Now is the time to stand together.
No, it's time to fight back.
Please don't do this.
So this is where you see the divide of these two. And you got to see the movie to really understand why there is that division, why there is that betrayal. But then the follow-up.
You need to move out of my way before I move you myself.
So, yeah, this is the contention that is going on there. And you're saying it wasn't built up enough. But in that, you do have Megatron coming after Centurion Prime. I think it was Centurion Prime, and basically saying this guy has betrayed us all. He needs to go.
Now, great, and he is a traitor to his entire planet. So should he be judged and executed by standard law?
Hold that, because I want to go over that with everybody here and see what people say in the chat here in a minute, because this will be a contention that we do. I don't want to finish it off just yet. Okay, so what I saw in here, the strongest trope in Transformers 1, I believe, there is the forgiveness aspect there at the end too, and that's very powerful. But the strongest trope that I saw is brotherhood and betrayal. The movie delves into the once strong bond between Optimus Prime and Megatron, which mirrors the biblical story of Lucifer's fall and others. Megatron's transformation from a close ally to a villain can be viewed through a Christian lens as a parallel to the fall of Satan, who was once an angel but turned against God out of pride and ambition. Now, it's not a buddy with he and God, because they're on totally different levels.
Yeah.
It would be like him and the other archangels instead. But are there other betrayal tropes in the Bible? So this is what I'd like to do, and I'd like your guys' help with this. We're going to check out 6 of these betrayal stories in the Bible to see which one is the closest to the film. If you haven't seen the film, we'll give you some guidance on that in terms of, has it close in bro relationship, is it close in motive, and in close in outcome. So the first one would be Cain and Abel. Joseph's brother, in Cain and Abel, what happens is you have one brother is jealous of the other and he kills him. So I'm going to put that out to you guys. In the basic idea in the story of Transformers 1 is you have these buddies. There's Centurion 1, who is everybody's protector because the aliens have wiped out all the other primes. Right?
Right.
But, and I'm not going to tell you exactly how, Centurion betrays Cybertron in more ways than one. And one of those ways is that he gets rid of Megatron's hero, is also in there as well. And so that really hits him hard. And because of that, these two guys, you have Optimus, which says, we need to do this through mercy and get rid of the bad guy, but do this legally with mercy and everything. And Megatron says, heck no, this guy needs to go. And the strong will survive. I'm in charge. This is the way we're going to do it. Is that basically it? Would you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be an aspect.
Okay. So knowing that, would you say that Cain and Abel follows that with motive, the bro relationship and everything? So I'm going to check the chat and see if we have some answers here. Okay, so Truth Defender said the robots, from what I saw, are just giant metallic creatures, frail like humans. They get shot and beat up just like humans. They should make them a bit more robust. Okay, so this is talking just about the, I don't know, if you have two really strong opponents, equally strong, they could equally tear into each other, just like flesh on flesh, I guess.
Yeah, it counts on which one.
Yeah. And Thomas Hall says, brings to mind for me, for some reason, the Jewish rebellion of 67 AD, which the Christians did not participate in. This is kind of an interesting point. So looking at it from history, the Cain and Abel question is still out there, but you're bringing up a good question with this. So from what I understand, the Romans couldn't understand Christians for the most part. They could understand the Jews because the Jews fought back. They crushed them in 70 AD, after this rebellion. But Christians were just weird. Christians didn't fight back. Christians continued on this their weird one God thing, and didn't step in line with everybody else and were potential causes of rebellion. They had to be snuffed out. But they respected the Jews, and the Romans didn't really respect the Christians that much until later. So yeah, that's a good point. So for Cain and Abel, what would you say about their story compared to what's happening with Transformers 1?
Well, there's a similarity of the brotherhood relationship, but that's where it basically ends. The driving factor is not vengeance. Not vengeance for a wrong done. I mean, you could say that, well, God accepted one offering and didn't accept the other. That would be the vengeance, but it's not betrayal.
No.
There was no actual betrayal there, unless you say that.
Oh, it was. I would say it was definitely betrayal between the two.
It's a different type of betrayal.
Right.
It's an absolutely different type
He killed
of betrayal. Yes, he did kill him. It's a different type of betrayal again.
Yeah, yeah.
So that would be a massive difference between the two.
The difference, you say, would be motive. Is that correct?
Yes. Motive, the entire heart behind the situation. Yeah.
Okay. So motive and then outcome on this with the Cain and Abel. one kills the other, so that we didn't have one killing the other here, although it might have come.
Even then,
close.
it wasn't purposeful. It wasn't the intent. The intent of Megatron was not to kill Optimus, although he did let him.
Yeah, but he really threatened to do it, though. So there was that part of it, right? He says, "Get on my way." I think there was the whole. He would have, if he had the opportunity, he would have done that. Let me put it up another clip here. I think.
All that counts is the strength of one bot over another.
That was incredibly stupid.
What was stupid?
The biggest plot hole in the freaking movie.
Which was...
Okay, so we followed the strongest bot. Except Megatron gets his butt kicked at the end, so we're going to follow him out.
Oh,
Bull
yeah.
crap. They would have gone with Optimus.
Well,
by their standards.
Okay, that's true. All right, comparing this to Esau and Jacob. Jacob deceives his brother Esau, stealing his birthright and blessing. Although Esau doesn't betray Jacob, the story illustrates civil rivalry, deception, and themes often tied to betrayal. Would you say that there is a closer parallel of this to the movie or not?
Not really.
Okay. So you would say Cain and Abel would be a closer fit than Esau and Jacob.
Yeah, but not by much.
Okay. How about Joseph and his brothers? So Joseph's brothers betray him out of jealousy, selling him into slavery.
Yes, that again would be completely different.
Okay,
you
because
have favoritism of one over the other, which led to the jealousy and turning into that, and then selling into slavery. There's a point where they wanted to kill him. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But
so okay, again, the motive would be different. The motive is jealousy.
Vastly different.
So I see a theme here, a biblical theme, at least in the book of Genesis, about jealousy being a breaker of strong ties. Doing that, there is no jealousy in this movie. How about Samson and Delilah? So the idea of Samson and Delilah, while not brothers, Samson's relationship with Delilah involves deep trust, in which she betrays him for money this time. So this is not jealousy for power. Yes.
By definition.
Okay. So his downfall then comes after that. It's because of misplaced trust, and then also not
built off
not
of
following
just
God.
Pure lust and desire.
Right.
And yeah.
So how is this different from the movie?
No lust, no desire in it.
No.
Again, different
motive altogether.
Different motive.
Okay. So I'm still looking for another one that would fit, to be as close as we can with this. And I'm going to check the chat real quick here to see what you guys say about this. I got one from Nicodemus saying Optimus looks comparatively effeminate. Maybe that's the Delilah thing. Maybe they were talking about that. That's what he was thinking. Effeminate. I don't know so much. Maybe I didn't get that. I didn't get that feeling at all with that. It's a surprising Bumblebee solo movie for 5 minutes. Is the G1 cartoon was cinematic. Also, the intro vibes of Fall and War Cybertron games. Okay, so Absalom and David would be the next one. Absalom, David's son, so we don't have a bro thing going on here. We have a father-son thing going on. Betrays his father by attempting to usurp his throne. The narrative demonstrates how familiar bonds can be broken. But what is the motive with this one?
Lust for power.
Power is it. So we hit jealousy, we hit basically money, and then we hit power. Saul and David. That was a different one. This is the last one they want to put out here.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
What we got here?
The question there.
It says, I never understood. Oh, well, I'm going to put Thomas on here. I never understood why Samson didn't see through Delilah the whole time. I guess he was just a sucker for a pretty face.
Wow, that's easy to do. I mean, how many times have men done stupid things for love?
Oh, man.
I could tell you. This goes on and on.
I can't tell you the stories because they are personal, but
there's quite a few.
Let's just say there's some people that I'm very close to. It's like, when, especially guys. Guys are Love Struck, when they become Twitter pated, they just have no judgment. They just are. I'm sorry. I hate to say this. The guys can be real idiots and have no idea what's going on. Because after the fact, they look at it and say, yeah, I should have seen that coming. Yeah, no kidding. Samson really should have seen that coming too. Then which one are you talking about?
That one.
Thin Arms. Okay.
From Gabriel.
Oh, I thought you meant this one here. Thin Arms and Legs. So that was what
starts. That's how he starts off, but then he beefs up.
Oh yeah. They were all
at the beginning.
Yeah, because he does take on this regular character later. I would say no, not necessarily feminine. Yeah, and for Gabe, yes, we are reviewing the new movie, Transformers 1. And I hate to say it, but probably check it out. And I did mention to you earlier, by the way, I'm still working on trying to get you that story because they're running into some technical difficulties with that. And then I used to get Love Struck every other week in my youth. Wow.
No, that sounds about right.
Yep. It does.
Typical guy, yeah.
It says, I enjoy Transformers 1 as a fan, though I do have a problem with I wish I saw. It felt short and should have been way longer of 2 hours limit, like the Rise of the Beast. Yeah, this was short. It was shorter, but I don't know if that was necessarily bad. Some people thought it was more like.
I still think it.
You think the timing was good, or you think?
I think it would benefit from being longer. I think if they would have vested more in the Betrayal, put that in there now. I don't think they need to have an extra act shoved in there. I think that would have been a very poor decision. But to at least stretch out the Betrayal, build it up a little bit more. I'm talking maybe 15 minutes max of building it up. I think it would have been much more impactful whenever it hit.
So I do have one last Betrayal in the Bible here that I can put out here. And you tell me if this is a better match for what's in the movie. This is Judas and Jesus. Now, we're not talking about necessarily brothers, but, Hebrews chapter 2 does talk about Jesus being a brother, although second person of the Trinity, he is God. Then you do have the betrayal there of Judas handing Jesus over to the Pharisees. Is that a better, it's not even close to what's here, but is it a better match than all the others that we had seen?
Sure. I'm pretty sure there's quite a few more secular examples that would fit better.
Right. We're just looking at biblical examples here.
Sure. It's, again, the motive is completely different. The setup is completely different. The relationship is completely different.
I would say the motive is closer.
The motive, okay, so Judas, there's a couple of options on Judas's betrayal. Either he intended to wake Jesus up and get his act on the road because he needs to start actually acting like the Messiah instead of this pansy going around talking about he's going to kill over and die. Time from Judas's perspective.
Right.
And that's why he turned him over to the Pharisees instead of turning him over to the Romans, which he would have felt would have been a betrayal to the Hebrew people, which is.
So that was a possible motive. We don't know exactly what his motive was. Okay.
That's the most optimistic
option. So another motive would have been, and this is very similar to this, that he wanted to see Jesus rise up and kick the Romans out and establish his kingship there as being of the line of David, being king of David, of David's line. He would have taken over, right? And this, like you say, he's not doing it. So instead of just trying to wake him up and doing it, it says, this guy is not doing what I expect. He must be a false prophet. I'm just going to hand him over. Might as well just cash in on this because I'm done.
That would be another alternative too. Yeah.
Right. So do either of those match what would be here in the movie?
No.
Okay. So I would say that you're probably right on this, although it's more of a moral decision there to say that this person isn't living up to what I would have expected. And so when Megatron tries to kill Centurion, he is going after him because he didn't live up to his expectations of it, and he feels betrayed by him.
Yeah.
So I guess in that way, yeah, it's a real stretch, but in that way, he's probably the closest. I'm saying of all these,
I say probably the closer one would be Jesus and the devil's view of humanity.
Okay.
where the humanity sees us as being corrupt, not worth saving, that we should never have even been created because we weren't even worth it to begin with. And Jesus is willing to lay down everything for our salvation, including getting in front of the, well, in this case, the gun, in order to save us, even knowing that will cause his death.
Yep. Okay. No, I think that's probably a pretty good parallel. And I'm going to see.
I think Thomas Hall's got a pretty good one there. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be a pretty close parallel
to what's going on in this movie.
Yeah.
I would say that probably is. There's another movie that I thought was coming out. That came out recently that would match it. But Obi-Wan. So how does Obi-Wan and Anakin match what's going on in this story?
Oh, in that case, it would have been obviously brotherly affection. He
even says that, right? Doesn't Obi-Wan says that you were a brother.
They definitely have a lot more of the kindred. The brother sort of friendship going. They've got interplay back and forth. They're really close at the beginning.
Even though one's a mentor.
Even though one's a mentor in that case.
Yeah.
It seems more like they're buddy to buddy. Definitely as you get towards the end of it, they're definitely buddy. And then you got the betrayal out of fear. That one was really driven out of fear.
Yeah.
More than even like quest for power or anything. It was just fear of loss.
So I think that's probably the closest we can get. So there are messages, or there are stories of betrayal in the Bible. And the question is, what happens after the betrayal? How do you work through that afterwards? Some people are just end up choosing evil and end up not being redeemed in the end. And that would be, for example, like Judas, not in the end, not having a redemption, although it was right there in his face when he takes his own life. Jesus is on the cross right there at the same time, choosing not to do it.
Yeah, there is this sort of trope where you have friends who become enemies in this way. Really did, at least in the writing style, really showed you the dynamic between the two options. Showed you the good, virtuous option and what happens to someone who doesn't choose that and falls. And even then, I mean, in my opinion, okay, the fake Prime there definitely needed to be executed, but it needed to be done in the right way.
Right.
Not one person deciding the fate on behalf of all the others.
Okay, so this is a question I was going to ask. I want you to get too much into it, and I'm asking you guys on this too. So this was what was on the thumbnail for this live stream. Was Megatron right all along? And I need to make sure, yes, we still do have the spoiler up. After they discovered Sentinel Prime betrayed the Primes and subjected Cybertron to the alien Quintesson invasion and subjected Cybertron to them in forfeiting over Energon to this alien race, Megatron wanted to kill Sentinel Prime. Sentinel Prime had not only betrayed the nation, the world, he had also killed his idol, his hero in this. So would Megatron have been morally right to kill this guy who had betrayed the entire planet to these aliens? Would he be morally right to do so? So I'm going to ask that as a question to you guys. And while you're like chewing on that a little bit, I want to show another little clip.
Until next time, legend.
Yes, definitely lots of humor here. That was kind of forced. Never done. So he Megatron idolized Prime Megatronus. That's where he gets his name later, because it was D16 earlier, originally in the movie, and then he changed his name to Megatron. So what was that? Would you say that was a betrayal or not? Or was Megatron correct in going after Centurious Prime after it just because he made that betrayal? What would you say in this case?
I think it depends on when it was, because there's a certain point where it crosses over from being justified to not.
Mm-hmm.
And that line was really where he became unable to attack, or he was no longer a valid threat to anyone around him.
You're talking about Centurion Prime.
Centurion Prime. During the fight between Centurion Prime and Megatron,
Sentinel. I keep saying Centurion. I'm sorry, Sentinel Prime.
Sentinel Prime and Megatron, there's a specific point where he becomes unable to cause any harm to anyone else. He is absolutely defeated. At that point, he needs to be put through a trial and then decided if he needs to be executed or could be rehabilitated. That would be something for the elected leaders to decide based upon the information given. Now, if before that point, in the combat, in the fight itself, Megatron gets a lucky shot off and kills him while he was still a valid threat to Megatron and to others around him, that would have been self-defense.
So the main thing is Megatron would have been right if Sentinel Prime still posed a threat to everybody, or even one person, a clear and present danger to everybody. He would have been justified to stop him, and if he couldn't stop him, to kill him, right?
Yes.
To prevent him from being an obvious threat. But once he was disarmed and no longer a threat, it wasn't justified for him to kill him on the spot, because that would have just been vengeance and murder, because he could have been turned over to some kind of tribunal that he would be going through.
And there's no doubt that they would have probably have elected for the death penalty based upon the fact he's a traitor to the entire planet. So I don't really have any question about that happening. Now, you could say that, again, even looking into the future, even saying hypothetically in the future, would he still be a valid threat in the future, that if you end it now, then you would remove that threat from the future, which could in that case justify it as well? No, he would not have been. I mean, he could have ran back to the aliens, but I think the aliens would just kill him straight up.
Yeah.
And I think that no one would have followed him after seeing his betrayal and knowing what he did, which was even to the point of crippling an entire subset of his own species in order to make them subservient to him, which would be the cogs he basically removed.
Right.
One of the twists is you're supposed to always have this ability to transform. That was the intention of the creator, and this guy has removed that before they went online. And
Thomas Hall said, not morally right, but the want for revenge, for justice brought by our own hands, has been very strong pull. I think this is a point of Christianity, saying do not revenge sounds foolish to others.
Well, the Bible says the revenge is mine, says the Lord, and there's a reason why. It's saying, hey, when it comes to revenge, I will dish it out when I see it fit, because I see the entire picture and I know what's going to happen. Even though you might be hurt, even though you might really, really want that revenge, it's not your place.
Not his place, right? He wasn't. There should be a legal system in place that would go there. Now, granted, there's a lot of turmoil that had happened at the time. They would have to set up some kind of tribunal or something at the spot, make it up, because there wouldn't have been. They basically overthrew the government. So now Brandon Tran said, don't know if you've seen X-Men First Class. I have. But D16 and Orion Pax have also have Magneto and Professor X. Yes. And in fact, I had a note here. I was going to, the parallel is so, that was the one I was thinking about earlier. The parallel is so close. At the end of X-Men First Class, a great movie, by the way, you have Magneto, who has vanquished the enemy, and he puts on the enemy's helmet.
Yeah, he becomes the enemy. And you see that close brotherhood between the two. Is excellent parallel between the brotherhood between those two, and then split, and they become enemies. Yeah, very, very, very much so between the two. Okay, so wrapping this up,
everyone. Before we wrap up, I do see another one from Brandon. I think this looks like a good one. I disagree with Megatron's move. Sentinel Prime, thank you for using the right term, unlike I have used, should have at least been arrested and put on trial. Megatron went full Homelander from Amazon's The Boys when he publicly executed Sentinel Prime.
Now, it could have been, as far as Megatron, again, the line is so fine where he went wrong and how it was wrong, done incorrectly. Because if he would just had him there, held him, had a trial right there where he's in front of everyone and saying, this is what his charges are, this is what's going on. What is your decision as a nation? How do we decide to do this? And if the vote was execution, which rightfully should be because he's an absolute traitor, then it could have been carried out right there. Now, I don't think he should have done it because, again, he already had the desire to kill him. That desire is... Okay,
so from Megatron's point of view, though, they were just, excuse the term, cogs in the machine. They were ground feeders. They were miners. They didn't know much about government or legal systems or anything. The only government that was there was Sentinel Prime doing what he's doing. And then once that got toppled, they may not have really thought of, there's no primes, there's nobody else that's set up. It's basic anarchy, and that gives me the right to do this.
Yeah, so
I've been betrayed by my government, so I don't want my government doing this.
So he removes the dictator and takes his position.
Okay, basically that's it.
You just switched a dictator over and
he says, I can do this because I know what's best. I mean, how many dictators have said that? Where tyranny starts with, let me help you out. I'm the government. I'm here to help. I mean, how many of them start off with that and then just grow? So yeah, that's a really good point.
And then he basically becomes the evil that, like we were saying in that one. In fact, there's an old painting, a Japanese painting that shows this, where a knight goes into hell and to slay the devil, and in so doing becomes tainted and turns into the devil that he desired to slay. So in that case, that's what happens.
That's true. So when you get down to it, every one of us has probably been betrayed by someone we like or love. And we've probably betrayed someone ourselves. Those relationships are hard to navigate, and not all of them can be restored depending on how we respond to the offer of repentance and forgiveness. All of us have betrayed God through sin. It would be good for us to remember the pain we felt when we have been betrayed. Every time then, when we're tempted to commit a sin, if we remember that in our background, it'd be good to reflect on that, because that's what we basically do to God. So it's not just a question of what would Jesus do, but a question of how would God feel? So if you enjoyed this, please take a moment and hit that like button and subscribe and share this with your friends. And let's see what is coming next. We have tomorrow night a book launch. We're going to look at Child of the Stone, the next short story in the, not really a series, but in the collection. And it's going to have a question of a taste of greed. How do we handle an ultimate power?
Is that a test of greed?
What did I say?
You said taste of greed. I'm like, if you're really that hungry.
Test of greed. It's not a taste of greed. No.
I'm like, okay, no. What exactly are they doing with this kid?
No, not at all. And then Thursday, we're going to look at the childless cat lady controversy. Childless cat lady and proud. Now, you guys tell me, is this a good thumbnail for it? Or is this a good thumbnail for it?
I like the first one more.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to take a look at both of those. And until then, this has been fun. It's been enjoyable. And I say, it's been hilarious.
Until